Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, on our website, or our social media. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a watch that launched in 2011, shortly after the original DB28 won the Alligator at the GPHG, the Oscars of watchmaking. De Bethune launched what you see here, which is the DB28T, the tourbillon of a combination of titanium, white gold, and silicon. The timepiece itself is 43.1 millimeters in grade 5 titanium, which means it's lighter than steel, but it's also more scratch resistant than steel. It is not an overpoweringly huge watch, as the combination of the 43.1 millimeter case with floating lugs and a thin profile of only 11.2 millimeters makes this a cuffable and wearable watch. The floating lugs allow you to move between a spacing of 53 and 58 millimeters across the wrist, and there's a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs if you want to throw on a strap. Now, I'm going to start the tourbillon, but I wanted you to have a chance to look at it before I do so. On my wrist, 16 centimeters circumference, you can see the overhead. There are option lugs you can get from De Bethune when you send your watch in for service if you want the short lugs, the medium lugs, or the big lugs. These are the big lugs, and they tend to wear well on most people. You can see it's a highly cuffable watch. It'll fit underneath the sleeve. From lug to lug, it's difficult to define because it does have that variable geometry to it, but I would recommend this watch for wrists as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference because it does sit so light and it does have so much flexibility about its lugs and its strap. Now, taking a quick look at that strap, you'll note it is a De Bethune factory piece that is gator on both sides, small round scale on the bottom, large rectangular scale on the top. You can see it features a sheer edge showing the layers of construction, a black monotone stitch, and it's semi-gloss. Gator on both sides is more expensive, but it lasts longer than calf on the bottom. The watch is grade 5 tie, and that goes for the buckle as well, which is a De Bethune factory unit. And you can see in some ways it echoes the form of the floating lugs. The floating lugs feature ogival or torpedo tip ends. These little bullet or rocket cap lug ends are the only visual vestige of the original 2002 DB1 chronograph. So while De Bethune styling evolves rather rapidly over time, there are small nods and winks to its own past. Now you can see the watch features a remarkable full polish aesthetic. It also has a screw down bullhead crown winding the 5-day manual wind power reserve. Okay, the dial, a lot to see, and it's a combination of white gold, silicon, titanium, and steel. Let's talk about the titanium and the steel first. You can see there's a blackened track outboard and then blackened panels over the barrel bridges. Now, these are all blackened steel, and they are gloss blackened steel, so they have a mirror-like effect. All of the individual globes representing the hour indices are polished titanium. Now, you can see the dial has incredible depth. You can see the twin mainspring barrels poking out from underneath the bridge. They are self-adjusting, and that's a patented De Bethune technology. But the tourbillon is really the highlight here, as it is the lightest tourbillon carriage in manufacture. The rim of the balance wheel is white gold. The remainder is silicon. That's patented. It's one of their half-dozen patented balance designs. So you can see there's also a bi-element hairspring, 2 elements. The terminal curve is made by De Bethune in-house, and then the 2 elements are clamped together, allowing the hairspring to beat concentrically in any position like an overcoil, but without the shock susceptibility of the overcoil. You can also see stationary, the silicon escape wheel of De Bethune's own design that reduces friction, improves precision, and increases power reserve. Finally, you can see that there's actually mirrored surfacing underneath the tourbillon, so you can view its reflection from the bottom back up. And as you can see, there is a blued full bridge for the tourbillon carriage, and that is in titanium. Now, we're going to fire this watch up, and I want you to note 2 things. 1, it beats away at an El Primero like 36,000 vibrations per hour, or 10 beats per second. And 2, the tourbillon makes a sweep of its 360 degrees every 30 seconds. Take note, this 35 jewel movement caliber 2009 also includes a 5-day power reserve indicator on the reverse side. So we're going to wind the watch, we're going to fire it up, and we're going to take a look at the tourbillon carriage and the escapement in action. Take note, the watch uses polished Breguet-style hands. They're actually modified Breguet-style hands at the center of the dial. The timepiece is impressive in its thinness. Given the power reserve, given the sophistication of the tourbillon, which generally results in a thicker watch, This is a timepiece that could easily be forgiven for stacking up 13, 14, even 15 millimeters in height. So the slim profile of the watch is in keeping with the best traditions of craft and high horology, which eschew excessively thick watches. Now it's 30 meters water resistant, so okay, granted, it's not the perfect watch, you can't go diving with it, but it's darn close in every other regard. There are a lot of choices in independent horology today. From F.P. Journe to Grubel Forsey, this is a watch that finds itself somewhere in between, from a brand that patents everything, makes its own movements, its own dials, and its own cases, and builds only 150 watches a year to spread out all those costs of proprietary parts and technologies. This is a company with absolute integrity and the highest standards of aesthetics and engineering. It is my favorite brand. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this watch, of which no more than 2 dozen have been known to be manufactured per year.